rolling like a beast. Black top jungle feast on chaos, grab the grease. 180 miles of asphalt ain't forgiven. In this chaos driven life, only the fearless living. Checkered flag visions, adrenaline addiction. Metal chorus blare, ain't no friction fiction. Drafting on the homies, camaraderie's a trigger. Slides on the track, bombs ready, yeah we bigger. Brother dreams chasing speed and money. Engines roaring loud, blazing through the night. Lap after lap, the fire in our veins. Run till we drop, or burst into flames. Fueling up the spirit, nitro in the soul. Cranking up the madness, losing no control. Curves like serpents, straightaways divine. Track burning hot, toasting every line. Hit stop hustle, seconds ticking like grenades. Oil stained glory, history never fades. Helmet and visor, it's a warrior's enchantment. Every turn a gamble, every lap a commitment. Crowds roar, amplifies high octane behavior. Victory tastes sharp, savoring the flavor. Wind in the helmet, destiny's a blur. Burning rubber dreams, all senses concur. Burn rubber dreams, chasing speed and might. Engines roar loud, blazing through the night. Lap after lap, the fire in our veins. Run till we drop, or burst into flames. Pulling up the spirit, nitro in the soul. Cranking up the madness, losing all control. Curves like serpents, straightaways divine. Track burning hot, toasting every line. Running from the dreams, chasing speed and light. Engines roaring loud, blazing through the night. Lap after lap, the fire in our veins. Run till we drop, or burst into flames. Fueling up the spirit, nitro in the soul. Cranking up the madness, losing all control. Curves like serpents, straightaways divine. Track burning hot, toasting every line.
Woo! Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome into the Wheel to Wheel Racing League as these drivers get ready to go to battle. Their season opener about to get underway here this afternoon from the beautiful Atlanta Motor Speedway. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another amazing Peacemaker Gaming broadcast here this afternoon as these drivers get ready to go to battle qualifying. About to get underway here as practice just coming to a close, so drivers are going to hop out onto the racetrack. They're going to lay down some quick times here and see if they can get their night started off on the right foot, hoping to try to put themselves up and in to victory lane here this evening and looking to try to get that pole position as we do see that AG's Design 74 right at Jaden Porter. Porter out there on the racetrack quickly here. He's looking to lay down a quick time. Same with that number 32 as Nick Biddy there on the racetrack. Caden Gargiulo out there on the racetrack as well in that 7 ride. There we see Ryan Underwood in his Silverado number 77 ride. Richard Rico, which I do believe is Jaden Rico, out there on the speedway. Jaden, or is it Jaden or Aiden? I think it's Jaden. Jaden Rico out there in that beautiful number 5 machine here this afternoon. As Mike, is it Greek or Grek? How does he pronounce it? Break that down for me there, brother. As Mike coming in, showing the love here, cheering on the other Greek out there on the racetrack. Is it Greek? Do you say Greek or Grek? As Jimmy 6 times, what's good, Josh? Josh coming in showing the love as well. Says PSCRL is here, baby. Let's go. Cheering on Underwood out there on the racetrack as Underwood looking to have himself a good day. We do see the 97 ride out there onto the racetrack. That is Caleb Holloman. Holloman out there on the speedway. We do see Michael Durham Jr. out there as well in his beautiful 00 machine. That Crown Royal ride looking good. Currently sits in second as Jaden Porter with the quick time here in qualifying, but now Caden Gargiulo jumps up into position number 2, moving Michael Durham Jr. back to 3rd. Nick Biddy sits there in 4th with Wyatt Mickelson up inside the top 5. Trent Johns, Jaden Rico there in 7th, and we see Ryan Holler out there as well. It's Holler on the hauler here this afternoon, hoping not to be on the hauler here tonight though, as Ryan Holler now sits in 10th as Logan Perriman jumps up into position number 5. Ethan Greek or Grek. I'm not sure how he pronounces that last name. I'm probably going to get it wrong all night long, but that 3 machine jumps up into position number 9, but he won't be there for long as quick time on the racetrack goes to the number 5, the HendrickCars.com machine of Grant Applegate. Applegate jumps to the top of the speed charts. Here we go. Keegan Huey out there on the speedway as well in that 38 ride. Keegan looking for a big run, looking to find a little extra speed out there on the racetrack. He's going to find a little bit, jumps up into position number 6, and Zach Claytor, quick time here in qualifying. Zach Claytor to the top spot in that 35 machine ride, as we do see William Bogart out there on the track as well. He's going to come to a stop, take his car down pit side. Here comes Matthew Wood in that beautiful number 16 ride. The WeatherTech machine rolls out there on the racetrack. Here comes Aiden Lucas in his beautiful 34, jumps out onto the racetrack. Here comes Nick Jensen as well. Jensen out there on the racetrack. Good to see Nick out there on the speedway, ready to rock and roll. Mike Koravu, hopefully I'm saying that right. Koravu in the number 46, blinking out there on the racetrack, and unfortunately that's going to be a problem here for a lot of these other drivers as he's trying to get that car rocking and rolling, running into some connection issues there. Blinking on the racetrack as Jimmy 6-time says, I'd like to see Wyatt run well. Sad he isn't full-time in PSCRL. Yeah, it's a tough break there for Wyatt. It's tough that he has to miss some of those races, but good to see him here in this series as well. Maybe he'll get the opportunity to run more consistently and more, weekly with this league instead of just the the premium stock car racing league, and hoping that hopefully he can make more attempts, more races and everything else. Is right now Aiden Lucas into 21st here in his qualifying run. We did see that number 42 and Nick Jensen jump up into 6 on the racetrack as Aiden Lucas looking for a little bit more speed, hoping to get a better run here. Is down the back straightaway. He's only got about 15 seconds or so to get the rest of the way around this racetrack before this qualifying attempt and comes to a close as Robbie Tester, what's good, Robbie? Robbie coming in says, yo, what's up, Robbie? How are you, brother? Robbie coming in, showing the love over there on Facebook as well. How are you, brother? As ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that's going to do it right there. Qualifying coming to a close here this afternoon. Marshall Harris, Zach Perry, Evan Stewart, and unfortunately for Mike Corveo, hopefully I'm saying that right, probably getting it completely wrong. Corveo out there, unfortunately not getting a lap time in as well in that 46 ride. They will start at the rear of the field, but out in front, starting on the pole, it is Zach Claytor. Claytor with a great lap time, putting himself up into the top of the charts here this afternoon. He's ready to rock and roll. He's ready to go to battle and see if he can put himself up and into victory lane here this afternoon as the action is about to come right at you here. These amazing wheel-to-wheel racers are ready to go to battle as Richard Rico says, Ethan Greek sound. Okay, it is Greek. Okay, it is Greek. I wasn't sure, the A in there, you just never know, maybe Grek or Greek, and you never know how people pronunciate their last names, and that's usually what does me wrong. And speaking a lot of French and everything else up here in Ontario, unfortunately, has kind of ruined some of my pronunciation or how you read some of these names as Cryptic says, I didn't make the race in time. I'm sad. Oh, no, Dylan. Brother, that sucks, my boy. That sucks. We were hoping to see you out there on the racetrack, but no Dylan Carrier here in this one. But he's going to be in the comment section. He's going to be watching. He's going to be tuning in and cheering on these drivers as Richard says, oh, for sure, laugh loud. Yeah, for sure. Definitely tough, man. You just never know how some people pronunciate their names or even just pronunciate a single letter in their name can be completely different than what it reads, so it's always the hardest part of a broadcaster. Here we go. Our starting lineup is in the number 39 ride. That is Zach Claytor, who will start in the top spot. To his outside in the 5 machine, it's the HendrickCars.com ride of Grant Applegate. Starting in position number 3 in the AG's Designs number 74, it's Jaden Porter. To his outside in the 7 ride is Caden Gargiulo. Starting in position number 5 in the 16, that is the WeatherTech machine of Matthew Wood. To his outside, it's the 42 of Nick Jensen. Starting in 7th in the Crown Royal 00, that is Michael Durham Jr. To his outside will be the 38 ride of Keegan Huey. Starting in position number 9 in the Nick Biddy Designs 32 ride, that is Nick Biddy himself. They're in 9th, and rounding out our top 10, the outside of row number 5, it's the 99 DeWalt machine of Logan Perryman. Perryman will start there in that 10th position. Starting in 11th in the 51 ride, that is Wyatt Mickelson. To his outside in that 2 machine, that is Trent Johns. Johns will start there in 12th. Ethan Greek and Jaden Rico back there in 13th and 14th, and then we see Ryan Holler, William Bogart, Caleb Holloman there in 17th. Then we see Michael Ponder Jr., Brian Underwood in the 77, Aiden Lucas back there rounding out our top 19 on the racetrack. To his outside is that 22 ride of Michael Ponder Jr. rounding at the top 20. Then we see the number 6, that's Joe David. To his outside, the 76, the Busch Latte machine, that is Zach Perry and Evan Stewart there in the AG's Designs Sim Racing Center Majors Garage machine back there in 23rd. So we are going to start 23 drivers here in this one. As Zach Glater out in front down the front straightaway. We'll see that green flag fly as we end all the anticipation with our feature presentation live here from the beautiful Atlanta Motor Speedway. Our season opener here with the Wheel to Wheel Racing League, and down out of corner number 2. They're still door-to-door. Drivers building up that speed, all that momentum down the back straightaway. The pushing and shoving here at Atlanta just getting fired off as the number 5 ride of Grant Applegate going to lead us down through quarter 3 and out of 4. Back down across the line. Looks like Applegate will lead lap number 1 here on the season. Applegate out in front as he moves down to the inside lane. Caden Gargiulo and Nick Jensen going to go right down there with him, but now he goes up to the high side here through quarter 1 and 2, and Gargiulo looking for the race lead down the back straightaway. Caden Gargiulo will now jump out in front as look at the 38 of Keegan Huey right down the middle here. Right down the pike, down the back straightaway, and he's going to move up a couple spots and slide himself into position number 4. Trying to get lined up here with his teammate in that 39 machine as the Budweiser rides there almost door-to-door down across the line as out in front leading lap number 2 here this afternoon. It's Caden Gargiulo. So early on in the evening, we see already 2 race leaders here in the first couple laps, and we may see a ton of lead changes throughout this afternoon. A lot of fast cats, a lot of great talented drivers out there on the racetrack. With this being somewhat of a super speedway style of a racetrack now, it's really going to mix things up, really make things that much more interesting with this newer repaint Atlanta Motor Speedway, where we may see drivers trying to do the exact same thing as what they do at Daytona or Talladega, and that's trying to find their teammates either race towards the front of the field and hoping to stay out in front and be in front of some of that carnage, or roll a little farther deeper in the pack and try to lay back there a little bit and keep themselves out of trouble and try to have enough time to get onto the binders or avoid some of the chaos that may unfold in front of them. As Ramrod coming in showing the love says, let's go 1776 Racing. Jason and Zach, cheered on Jason and Zach out there on the speedways right now. Zach Claytor out in front. Keegan Huey there in position number 2. They are absolutely hooked up here this afternoon. Identical paint schemes. I'm assuming their teammates there at the front of the field as we do get a new race leader here at Atlanta. And now here comes Logan Perryman. Perryman looking to race his way up towards the front of the field here as he's got that number 16 of Matthew Wood right there on his back bumper. Wood trying to push him to the front of the field. They got Nick Biddy right there behind them, and that is the number 2 ride of Trent Johns there in the 4th car in line in that outside groove, as you do see Aiden Lucas trying to move forward. Brian Underwood back here as well, as you do see Aiden actually go up a little too high down through corner 1 and 2. Actually looks like he may have gotten some contact with that outside fence. Unfortunately falls all the way back again into that 16th spot on the speedway. Joe David right there with him. There's Jaden Rico back there in the 19th spot, door to door with Evan Stewart as they head down across the line and click off another lap. As you do see these drivers kind of at the back of this lead pack, a little farther back there, you do see Michael Ponder Jr. Ponder Jr. and this number 71 of Jason Bogart trying to keep themselves out of trouble, as there's trouble right here in front of them. Look out! Oh, baby, that got real close for that number 97 ride. I think he ended up getting a piece of him and some heavy left front contact and damage here for that ride on the racetrack. And unfortunately for the Dr. Pepper machine, he's going to see a doctor down pit side. Going to have to try to get some early repairs to his car as the 2 ride of Trent Johns goes around and brings out our first caution flag of the season. So our first yellow flag here of the season, and our first yellow here tonight at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Looks like he just moves up the track a little bit, down into the middle, and a little bit of net code right there. Oh, that's a tough one right there. That's a tough one. They weren't touching. They were still fairly far apart. The net code unfortunately just going to get this 2 ride sideways on the racetrack right there. You see no contact. There's a foot or so between them, and unfortunately, though, iRacing and the Netco going to take that 2 ride around. Some pretty good damage there for the 5 ride of Grant Applegate as the 2 hard up into the outside fence here. Got that car locked up. He's trying to hold it there on the high side of the racetrack, hoping that everyone else can avoid him and minimize the damage, minimize all the contact here. As you see the smoke and everything else, it's going to be hard for drivers to see him. And unfortunately, kind of rolls down just a little bit into the middle of the racetrack there. Keeps his foot onto the binders, rolls forward here just ever so slightly. And that's where we see this 97 ride try to get to his outside. Unfortunately, gets a big piece of him right there. More front end damage for the 2, more front end damage for the 97. As unfortunately he just could not get out of the way. And early on for Caleb Holloman, that's not the way you want things to go here in this first race of the season. Let's see if we can get another look at this one as he's trying to slide through there, trying to avoid contact, and unfortunately gets a lot of damage here on this Dr. Pepper machine. Goes to the high side right here, and unfortunately, that gap just closes up way too quickly, and unfortunately not able to make another move. Let's see if we can get another look at it here. Slow it down a little bit as he's following in behind these guys, sees them checking up. He goes to the middle, sees the 2 right there as the 2 trying to pull back out and turn back around. Fortunately, closes that hole to the outside lane, and the 97 ride gets a big piece of him right there. Obviously getting into the outside fence and into that 2 ride, then down into the inside wall. Heavy damage there for Caleb, and he's going to have to try to get that 1776 ride fixed up and pointed back in the right direction as you do see him back out there on the racetrack. And looks like that car is repaired. Looks like he's used that quick repair and hoping to not have any more issues out there on the racetrack. As we'll get him stacked up, racked up, ready to go back to Green Flag Racing. Out in front, it's Zach Claytor. Claytor leads the way here with Keegan Huey there to his outside. Teammates here on the front row getting ready to go back to battle here in this one. As Richard Rico says, geez, Jaden is the only one actually sponsored, laugh out loud. Well, I think some of these guys probably have some sponsors. There's definitely some other ones in there that probably have their own sponsors, whether it's their own companies or other drivers. I do believe Caden Gargiulo, I do believe he's got a real sponsor on the side of that car. Obviously, AG, that is Jaden's, I do believe it's Jaden's own design company there on the side of his car. Nick Biddy, obviously his design company on the side of his car. Some of these other drivers with some other sponsors as well, other drivers that are, a part of different teams or different things. But yeah, definitely looks good having a decent sponsor on the side of that car for Jaden Rico out there on the speedway. And potentially for a lot of these other drivers, good performances, good runs out there on the racetrack, maybe opening up the door for themselves to earn some sponsorships themselves and maybe put some sponsors and some custom paint schemes onto their own stuff. As you do see Aiden here. Aiden's got some sponsors on the side of his ride in that 34 ride. The GOAT machine rolls back there in that 19th spot on the speedway as each and every one of these drivers is going to get ready to go back to battle, getting ready to duke it out here once again as a early caution flag. We get ready to rock and roll here. 10 laps in already, and we get very, very close to seeing our first stage. Our first stage will come here to a close at lap number 30. So stage breaks at lap 30 in lap 65, and I do believe these drivers, they're going to have 60% of fuel. They should be able to make it on each of these stages without having to come down pit side here. So that's good news for them here, as they're going to be, they probably got about 36, 37 laps of fuel in their race cars. so they're going to be able to make it here to that green and white checkered flag at the end of stage number 1, and definitely there for the 35 laps or so in stage number 2 as well. It's going to get very tight on fuel, but the few laps under caution flag before we get rocking and rolling for that second stage, they should be able to save enough to get to the end of that stage and head back down pit side. But that final stage, that's where things are going to get very, very interesting. Potentially green flag pit stops or other pit strategies for these drivers and what they need to do to try to put themselves either into good track position or have tires late in this race, or being able to just kind of line up with their teammates on one of these restarts later on to potentially put themselves up into victory lane. As a big lead here, our top 2 cars start to stretch out in front here by quite a bit as that 7 ride of Caden Gargiulo. Gargiulo pushing that number 39 out in front, as that is Zach Lator who continues to lead the way. You can imagine this big pack is going to catch up to him in a quick hurry. They can't stay lumped together. They can't stay, tight together for too long out there. That 7 ride may start to overheat on the racetrack, but as the 8 drivers, battle door to door here, they haven't really closed up the gap too much, but they're going to start to build up that speed more and more and more. We're going to see one of these lines prevail, and they're going to hunt down our top 2 in a quick hurry out there on the racetrack. Is Keegan Huey, Logan Perryman, all these drivers trying to chase their way up towards the front of the field, looking to try to put themselves into the top spot here this afternoon. As you do see Nick Jensen right there in that 42 ride, we see Logan Perryman, Matthew Wood, Jaden Porter, Nick Biddy, Michael Durham Jr. back there in that 00 ride, and that number 3 Machina, Ethan Greek, rounding out the top 10 right now as he's got the 77 of Brian Underwood there to his outside. Underwood looking to try to race his way up inside the top 10 out there on the racetrack as he's right on the back bumper of that Nick Biddy Designs 32 ride as they roll down through quarter 1 and out of 2. It's still Zach Later and Caden Gargiulo who lead the way, but here we go, starting to get to the back bumper of our top 2 on the racetrack. That's that 38 ride of Keegan Huey. Huey wants to probably get lined back up again here with his teammate there in that 39 ride. We'll have to wait and see if they make a move, if they decide to go to the high side or try to split that number 7 ride and leave him high and dry out there on the racetrack, which could open up the door for more door-to-door action here at the front of the field as our top 5-6 drivers now starting to get a little single file there. Logan Perryman on the outside lane, unfortunately not a whole lot of help here to his back bumper, and they are sliding backwards in a quick hurry. There's only 4 cars in that outside group, and unfortunately they're falling now outside the top 10 on the racetrack as Ryan Haller in the 23 and that number 51 gonna roll right down and around them here and slide inside the top 10. Logan Perryman gonna try to hold them off though, try to stay in the top 10. Unfortunately, no holes down low, can't jump down into a lane or into a spot here and keep himself in a solid top 10 position as the 99 ride will fall back just outside the top 10 now. The 42 makes the move down to the inside. He's going to leave him high and dry, but here we go. Maybe some more drivers wanting to make this double file. Maybe they can catch that draft and get back up towards the front of the field and join that 2 wide there in front of them, as we do see a couple drivers making some moves. That's the 00 of Michael Durham Jr. He was the first one to jump out of lane here and jump up to that high side. Now looking to try to get some help, seeing if they can try to race their way up to the front of the field, as that's the 16 of Matthew Wood right on his back bumper trying to get that outside lane moving. And as they're door-to-door back here, side by side, that's starting to open up a bit of a gap again for our top 3 as they're just staying hooked together, not really allowing anything to build up to their outside on the speedway, as that 39 ride Zach Later, Caden Gargiulo, and Keegan Huey hooked up here this afternoon. And yeah, as they continue to battle door-to-door back here, they are continuing to stretch out that race lead as Jaden Porter down low, that number 00 Michael Durham Jr. to his outside. Here comes that 51 of Wyatt Mickelson. Ryan Haller right there with him, a couple teammates there in the Premium Stock Car Racing League. I'm sure teammates here in this series as well. And now another one of our Premium Stock Car Racing League drivers working his way inside the top 10, up 10 positions from where he started. That's the 77 Silverado ride up Brian Underwood. Underwood up into position number 7 on the racetrack here, and he's looking strong as we do see that caution flag come out. So the yellow flag will fly here again this afternoon. 10 laps seems to be kind of that average here. You bet a 10-lap run, then a caution flag, and unfortunately looks like some heavy damage here. The number 5 ride, as it looks 3 wide down the front straightaway. 32 kind of comes down the racetrack. Oh, he gets hooked by the 42 ride. Oh, no, look out. Upside down goes Jaden Rico. Rico upside down through corner number 1 and 2. What a wild ride there for the 5 machine. As Jaden Rico goes for a wild ride there. Unfortunately, that car heavily damaged. Looks like he's going to have to tow it back down pit side. And unfortunately for that 5 machine, not the way he wanted things to go here in this one. Let's take another look at this one. Is unfortunate contact here. Back behind him just by ever so slightly. A little contact here. Watch the 42 on the bottom of the screen. In the 32, that's to the outside of this 5 ride. As down through the tri-oval, heading down towards corner number 1. The 32 is coming down, trying to side draft right here. The 42 trying to side draft off that 32 ride. They end up making contact. The 42 comes up a little too far into that left rear quarter panel. And that brings him back down the racetrack, right down into that 5 machine. He bounces off the fence, off the 99 ride. Heavy damage there as well for that 99 machine as, man, Logan Perryman just nowhere to go right there. The 6 ride, tons of damage there for Joe David as well. And unfortunately for Richard Rico, or not Richard Rico, that is Jaden Rico in the 5 ride. A crazy flip here on the front straightaway down into corner number 1. Let's see if we can get another look at it here. Let's see if we can jump on board with this 5 ride. Is down around Atlanta Motor Speedway down the front straightaway. He's just going to get hooked right here, and it's going to happen quickly. There's the hook up into the fence. Nothing he could do except for hang on and enjoy the ride, and he goes for a wild ride here, skidding down the track here upside down, and unfortunately not the way he wanted things to go this afternoon. Now parked down pit side, getting some extensive repairs done to that 5 machine. As everybody getting ready to go back to battle here in this one. I don't know if that's going to calm them down a little bit more. Maybe seeing already some early carnage, a couple early caution flags, making these drivers maybe a little bit nervous out there on the racetrack, knowing that, you know, their night could come to a close in a quick hurry. They just saw what happened to that 5 ride. Seeing the 6 and the 99 getting tied up into it as well. Knowing that they don't want to put themselves into that same situation. They haven't even hit that first stage of the day yet. And some of these drivers, they just want to try to earn those points here, kind of have a good day at the speedway, and hope to stay clean out there on the speedway and not having issues like that. So we'll have to wait and see some of these drivers decide to hang back a little bit more, try to run a little bit more single file, and hope to keep themselves out of that carnage. As here we go. Choose cone down there across the start-finish line, and we will get these drivers stacked up, racked up, and ready to go back to Green Flag Racing. As out in front, it is Zach Claytor with the race lead. The 7 ride of Caden Gargiulo in position number 2, and now the teammates lined up here, nose to tail at the front of the pack. Here's the 38 of Keegan Huey. They're in position number 3. They're outside. That is the 00 Michael Durham Jr. in position number 4. It's Jaden Porter there in 5th with Matthew Wood running out our top 6. Brian Underwood up into 7th is Ryan Haller back there in position number 9. The 51 hanging back a little bit. That's Wyatt Mickelson in the 8th position. In the 10th position is that 3 machine of Ethan Greek. It's Nick Jensen, Zach Perry, William Bogart, Caleb Holloman after going for his wild ride down the back straightaway, and the heavy damage getting repaired on that Dr. Pepper ride. He's up there in that 14th position. Aiden Lucas there in position number 15. Grant Applegate, Trent Johns, Evan Stewart, Nick Biddy, Michael Ponder Jr. rounding out our top 20 with the 46 of Michael Corveo there in position at number 21. Joe David there in 22nd as Logan Perryman still down pit side, getting some extensive repairs done to his car. Looks like they had to be down pit road for quite a little while. Now they're getting some tires put onto their cars. Unfortunately, they are already at least a lap, potentially a couple laps down, and we see our race leaders down the front straightaway seeing that green flag fly. So unfortunately, they will go another lap down. They're going to have to hope for a few extra caution flags and hope they get some lucky dogs and race their way back onto the lead lap and back into contention here this evening. As out in front, Zach Claytor in the 38 of Keegan Huey hooked up there for that restart. They get a great launch and quickly pull away down the front straightaway or back straightaway here as the 39 continues to lead this race. He's looking for the first stage win of the afternoon and of the season here. The 38 right there with him is Jaden Porter trying to get rocking and rolling. We saw that 77 of Brian Underwood. He jumped up into the outside lane in front of Caden Gargiulo. Gargiulo now second in line there on that outside groove, trying to get that move in here towards the front of the field once again, as that is the 23 of Ryan Haller right up inside the top 5 here. A great race so far for Ryan Haller. Had a bit of a rough go in our Outcast Racing League earlier this afternoon, but was able to rebound, still come home with a top 15 finish there, and here he is back out on the racetrack here this afternoon after a tough night last night. A solid finish here earlier today, looking for a great race here in race number 2 on the evening for him, and race number 3 on the weekend here on Peacemaker Gaming for that 23 machine. Caden Gargiulo, he's there, right there, trying to work to the outside of the 51 right of Wyatt Mickelson. He's getting a little bent out of shape right there, gets a little squirrely down the back straightaway. Luckily enough, everyone able to see that happening, and they were able to get onto the binders or roll out of the throttle, avoid any contact, and help him go around right there. So we keep it clean and green as the 97 almost pancakes the outside fence down across the line, as Ethan Greek making some moves down low here. That beautiful Tracker Boats Bass Pro Shop number 3 ride now up into 7th. Matthew Wood back there in 8th as a little single file up towards the front of the field, still too wide, deeper in the back here as you see the 7 ride head down pit road here, down onto the apron for Caden Gargiulo. So potentially just a little bit of strategy here. He's going to come down pit side now. He's got to hope that he doesn't go a lap down before these drivers come back around here, as he's trying to make that early pit stop here. Everyone getting ready for the end of this stage. This stage will end at the completion of lap number 30 here this afternoon. Zach Later looking for the stage win. Him and his teammate Keegan Huey still hooked together down the back straightaway. 2 strong cars here this evening. They're going to be tough to beat. We'll have to wait and see if other teams or other drivers can get paired together and see if they can beat these 2 Budweiser rides at the front of the field. Is down across the line. They'll click off another lap here and get a little bit closer to potentially taking the top 2 spots here at our first stage of the season here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. And Zach Later, Keegan Huey right there, and they are going to roll around that number 7 rider Caden Gargiulo. Gargiulo will now lose a lap here. He is now going to be a lap down, tries to rejoin the field here on the back straightaway, and unfortunately for that 7 ride, early on coming down pit road all by himself, and everybody else on that same strategy trying to make it to the end of this stage is down across the line. They will start that final lap here in stage number 1 on the afternoon. The 39 right out in front leading the way. You saw that 77. He's trying to get things rolling. Is down the back straightaway. Issues there for the 42 ride. Nick Jensen and the 57 of Grant Applegate come together. No caution flag as he's down and off the racetrack there for the 42 ride, but down across the start finish line here to complete our first stage of the season. The 39 ride of Zach Clater. Clater will pick up the first stage win here this afternoon. Keegan Huey there in second as teammates 1 and 2 getting the top 2 spots at our first stage of the season, our first stage of the afternoon. Ryan Haller with a great run there in stage number 1. Him and his teammate Wyatt Mickelson back there in 3rd and 4th. Then we see Brian Underwood rounding out our top 5. Ethan Greek back there in 6th with Zach Perry, Matthew Wood, Michael Durham Jr., and Caleb Holloman rounding out our top 10 here. Caleb already running into issues here this afternoon. Had that heavy left front damage, and after getting tied up in that first caution flag, and for the 97 ride to rebound, get that quick repair, jump back out there, and still be able to pick up at least 8 points, coming home in that 10th position in our first stage. Definitely a great rebound right there for that number 97 machine. Trent Johns just on the outside of a stage point there in the 2 ride is Jaden Porter, Nick Biddy, and everybody else unfortunately not going to earn themselves any stage points here in that first stage this afternoon, and only our top 10 will earn stage points, and also a bonus point going to this 39 ride, a bonus playoff point going to that 39 for the stage win here this evening. As drivers roll around the racetrack, they catch up to the iRacing pace car here this afternoon. Now they'll get ready for potentially some pit stops here, where I can only imagine everybody's going to head down pit side and get some work done to their race cars. I do believe the 7 machine of Caden Gargiulo will get that wave around the free pass back onto the lead lap. Now that's it's going to be a good break for the 7 ride. Unfortunately, though, he's going to have a little bit older tires and a little less fuel than everybody else, and he's going to be giving up all that track position. I'm not sure what the strategy call was headed down pit side there, but for the 7 ride, probably not the way he wanted things to go here early on in this race, as we'll get them all stacked up, racked up, ready to go back to Green Flag Racing. Now, there could be a couple drivers that did come down pit side during that last caution flag around lap number 20, as Nick Biddy came down pit road. Same with Michael Ponder Jr. and a couple of these other cats. Joe David, Mike Corvea back there. Corvea came down pit side as well. So some of these guys have already made pit stops here on the afternoon, already came down pit road, got some service, got some work done to their race cars, and now seeing these guys potentially having to maybe cycle back around. If everyone else comes down pit side, if they try to run that strategy, maybe stay out on the racetrack and leapfrog everybody and put themselves at the front of the field. But right now, doesn't look like that's going to happen. Looks like everybody is going to head down pit lane here. So everyone headed down pit side, everyone looking to get some service, some fuel, some tires, and everything else they desire here down on pit lane. As you do see Zach Perry in that Busch Light 1776 Motorsports ride heads down pit side here, looking to get that car fixed up, cleaned up, and ready to go back to battle here this evening. As ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if you're just tuning in and you haven't already, make sure you guys do us a favor. Hit that like button on the broadcast right now during this caution flag. Hit that like button, hit that share button if you're feeling courteous, and make sure you hit that follow or subscribe button. If you're watching over on Facebook, Twitch, or YouTube, hit that follow button, hit that subscribe button, become part of the Peacemaker family here today, and join in on the fun here on Peacemaker Gaming. As every single night, we're pretty much live every night with racing action, and multiple nights you get to see these exact same drivers out there on the racetrack duking it out and battling here this afternoon. As it looks like Zach Perry, first driver off of pit lane here. Caleb Hollyman will come out in second. Zach Glater back there in third, with Keegan Huey back there in position number 5. Ryan Haller there in 6, as Brian Underwood, Wyatt Mickelson, William Bogart, and Matthew Wood going to round out our top 10 here on the racetrack as they roll back out onto the speedway, as the number 57 of Grant Applegate came down pit side a little bit early there, trying to get some repairs, trying to have some extra work done to that HendrickCars.com number 5 ride. Unfortunately, pitting early while pit lane was still closed. He will get a EOL here to start this restart, and unfortunately, it's going to give up not a whole lot of track position. That was pretty much a smart move there. You see the 42 ride also coming back down pit road. Is there on that final lap. They got tied together. Unfortunately for the 42, heavy contact into the inside fence there on the back straightaway, but luckily enough, able to keep on rolling, as we do see Jaden Rico back out there. He's looking for the wave around, looking for an extra lap back here on the racetrack, and maybe a quick caution flag and maybe a couple lucky dunks to get himself back into the action here this evening. The 99 ride of Logan Perryman, he slides back out there onto the speedway as well. Unfortunately, multiple laps down here for the 99 ride, and he's just going to try to salvage as much as he can here this afternoon. As Roadkill says, I had to drive through. Oh, you had to drive through. Hayden, why did you have to drive through, brother? That seems pretty odd. I didn't realize that you had to do a drive-through penalty there. We saw you come down pit side. We thought it was just an off-schedule pit stop right there. I'm not sure if that was for damage or for a black flag, or what the possibility was there for that potential drive-through penalty out there on the racetrack. Luckily enough, it didn't affect you too much, didn't hurt you too much out there on the racetrack, as you were able to keep on rolling here back onto the lead lap, just losing all that track position, no stage points, and now going to have to try to rebound from that here this afternoon, as a little bit of contact, a little bit of carnage here in that first stage. The next stage about to come back at us here, as D-Hoffs over there on Twitch coming in as well, says Cone hasn't lagged the field yet. Not yet. Wasticity. I don't know how you want to pronounce that. System 99 says, so far, I haven't seen him fly in the sky yet. Yeah, he hasn't been flying in the sky yet. I'm sure you guys are probably talking about that 46 ride of Mike out there on the speedway, as Mike's definitely been blanking pretty hard out there on the racetrack through that qualifying session. But so far throughout this feature event, that 46 has looked pretty good, as Oh, no, he's in first. He better watch out for real, oh, brother. We'll have to keep an eye over there on the Twitch stream as well. We are happy to see everyone tuning in over there on the Twitch broadcast, over on YouTube and Facebook as well. A good crowd of fans in the stands cheering these drivers on here this afternoon as the green flag back out here in this one. Zach Perry leads the way here, is down through quarter 3 and 4. He will lead this next lap. So Perry out in front, one of our new lead racers here, our lap leaders here this afternoon. One am I having a stroke up here in the broadcast booth? Is Zach Perry out in front, leading the way. It's Zach Glater right there in position number 2. Ryan Haller sticking himself back into that third spot here as he's got the 77 of Brian Underwood back there behind him in position number 4. Wyatt Mickelson there in that 5th spot on the racetrack as Dehoff says, I run with Applegate on NASCAR Heat 5 leagues. Laugh out loud. Always pick fun at him and his internet. He's usually pretty good here on iRacing. I don't normally see Applegate have too many issues. He runs into a lot of netcode, and we did see him have a little netcode issue early on there between himself and I do believe it was the or was it? I can't even remember now. It was the 97 ride, I do believe. No, it wasn't the 97. It was the 2 ride of Trent Johns, who's right there behind him. Trent Johns and Applegate, a little netcode. Unfortunately, took that 2 ride around through quarter 1 and 2 on the racetrack, and unfortunately there for them, that's one thing you just got to deal with here on iRacing. If another driver, their internet isn't as good, the netcode tends to affect you a little bit more out there on the racetrack. So you got to be very, very careful with some of those other drivers that have those internet connection issues to try to keep yourself a little bit farther away from them. Try to be a little bit more courteous out there on the racetrack and avoid making that contact or getting taken out there. As you can see, the 37 unfortunately pushed way up the racetrack there. That is that 37 machine of... Where is he here? Where's the 37 on my list? There's Evan Stewart. There's Evan Stewart. Stewart, unfortunately, pushed up the racetrack up to that high side. Not a whole lot of help up there. The 97 trying to tail in behind him here is Caleb Holliman back there in the 19th spot. They got a bit of a gap all the way back here to our 20th place drivers. The 22 Pennzoil Ford Mustang of Michael Ponder Jr. rolls there in 20th. The 46 of Michael Corveo there with him in position number 21. And the 42 of Nick Jensen all by himself out there on the racetrack. No drafting help, unfortunately, was down pit road trying to get that car repaired, and he could be at risk of potentially going a lap down on the racetrack. So hoping to slide back out there in a quick hurry. Is out in front. It's still Zach Perry. Drivers settling down a little bit more here throughout this feature event as some craziness there in the first stage. A few tore up race cars, but here in stage 2, seems like things getting a little bit more single file. Drivers trying to be a little bit more calm, cool, and collective out there on the racetrack. But as I say that, we start to see a little bit of movement back there through the middle of our top 10 as the 38 ride makes some moves. The 3 ride of Ethan Greek goes up the racetrack here. Unfortunately, no drafting help. There goes the 7 ride of Caden Gargiulo. Even that second line going to leave him high and dry, and it's going to shuffle him right back to the rear of the field here, or rear of this pack out there on the racetrack. Now has to jump down low, hope to catch that draft off the back bumper of the 37 of Evan Stewart. Stewart right there in front of him as it's getting a little bit dicey up here through the middle of our top 10 in the early teens out there on the racetrack. Is everyone battling hard, trying to race their way up inside the top 10 on the racetrack. But out in front, it's Zach Perry continuing to lead the way. Zach Glater right there behind him in position number 2. Haller, Underwood, Wyatt Mickelson doing a great job inside the top 5, just sticking right there together. They got Matthew Wood and the 71 ride of William Bogart. Bogart rolling there in position number 7. Now you're starting to see the rest of these drivers go back to single file, reel in that lead pack, and starting to join this fight here once again at the front of the field. As the 38 ride of Keegan Huey, I know he's going to want to try to make some moves, trying to race his way back up to his teammate there in position number 2. See if they can try to sweep the stages here this afternoon as they came home first and second there in stage number 1. Nick Betty there in 9th, and Joe David, who got tied up in that second caution flag, had some pretty good damage on that 6th ride, currently rounding out our top 10. Caden Gargiulo, after rebounding from that unfortunate trip down pit side there before that stage end, able to get get back on the lead lap, and now racing his way back up towards the top 10 here, battling door-to-door with the 00 of Michael Durham Jr. Durham has some help here to his back bumpers. Here comes that 5 rider Grant Applegate. Applegate going to push him, and now here comes that 34 of Aiden Lucas. Lucas up to the high side here, going to collect that 7 ride and see if they can get lined up together. Looks like both drivers, unfortunately, though, not carrying enough speed down through corner 3 and 4. They'll fall in behind Durham Jr. and that 5 ride of Applegate as now Durham gets pushed up the racetrack there from the 5 ride. He's going to slide back a couple more spots here as now he has no help on the outside lane, and he's going to fall back here a few more positions as Durham Jr. back there in 14th. It's Jaden Porter right there in that 15th position, hanging on to the rear of this lead pack as Caleb Hollyman a little farther back here now in that Dr. Pepper 97 ride as this little 4-car pack right here, unfortunately, now about a second and a bit here, 1.7 seconds back of the tail end of that lead pack on the racetrack. So they're going to have to try to either catch up to them here or hope to see them break up or get a little bit more door-to-door and side-by-side there for them to be able to catch up to that pack and rejoin that battle here before the end of stage number 2. Is out in front, it's Zach Perry. Perry leading the way here in this one. As Caden in the chat there says, it said I had a black flag for being ahead of the leader on the restart. Oh, that's a tough break right there. That's a tough one, brother. As good job, number 76, says Ramrod over there on YouTube, cheering on that 76 ride of Zach Perry as Perry continuing to lead the way here in this second stage. Zach Claytor sticking right with them on his back bumper. Not a whole lot of movement out of these top 3, top 4, top 5 drivers on the racetrack. Is Haller sticking right there in position number 3. It's Brian Underwood who's there in 4th. Is now, here you go, starting to see some more movement. Here comes that 16 right of Matthew Wood. He's going to get down low underneath the 77 of Brian Underwood, pushing Underwood to that outside group. He just did the same thing not too long ago to Wyatt Mickelson. Mickelson, he did get a little bit of help there for a couple seconds. Should have probably picked up that 77 ride, but moves to the outside here of them. The 5 ride of Applegate going to stick with the 77 here on the racetrack, and they're 3 wide once again here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. As now up on the outside lane, that 51 ride, the HendrickCars.com machine, no help there. He's going to have to move down the racetrack here, fall back in line behind that 5 ride. Here comes Aiden Lucas to his back bumper, trying to get him rolling here once again, trying to build up that speed and that momentum, trying to get that second lane rolling. But as they start the battle door to door out there on the racetrack, it's just allowing those front 3 drivers once again just to pull away with this one. So once again, pulling out in front by a big lead here is Zach Perry, Zach Claytor, and Ryan Haller. They got about almost 9/10 of a second gap now between themselves and Matthew Wood, who leads that second grouping right here, and they're still door-to-door back there behind them. Unfortunately, seems like when these NASCAR Cup cars start to get a little bit more to-door out there on the speedway, the pace drastically falls off. And if the leaders are bunched together tightly, if they stay formed there, not door to door, but single file there at the front of the field, seems like they can really start to stretch out a lead there and leave the rest of this field kind of high and dry. So drivers are going to have to kind of keep that in their memory book for late in this race. If they start to see drivers get a little bit more built up like that, and they could potentially just run away with it and have it as a 3-car, 4-car battle at the front of the field and leave everyone else back there in the dust. So now they're getting back into a bit of a single file group here in this second grouping and see if they can try to hunk back down. That top 3 is 9/10 of a second is the gap between that number 23 of Ryan Haller and the 77 of Brian Underwood. Down the front straightaway, they got a lot more cars, so they're building up a lot more speed on the straightaways, and that's catching up to that lead pack in a quick hurry. So they're going to come at them in a quick hurry out there on the racetrack, as we do see Caleb Holloman. Holloman comes down pit road here. Oh no, looks like he's got more damage on this 97 ride. Looks like he's gotten down into the inside fence here. I'm not sure where he may have gotten that damage, and there it is right here. Contact this group deeper in the field. Looks like the 37 of Evan Stewart going to come off the racetrack into that left rear quarter panel of the 97, just hooks him down the racetrack, almost virtually the same as what we saw earlier that he got tied up into. And unfortunately, down on the apron, no caution flag for that 97 ride, and he's going to roll it right down pit lane, and not the way he wanted things to go down here this afternoon, as he is still down pit side now, multiple laps down, as Zach Perry out of corner number 4. You see that second group starting to catch up to them here in a quick hurry. Now they've jumped back 2 by 2 out there on the racetrack, as these front 3 continue to lead this race. They're rolling up to the back bumper here of that number, I believe that is the 5 ride potentially there. I do believe that is the 5 ride of Jaden Rico here. Jaden eventually going to go a lap down. There we go. As here comes the race leaders. They're going to try to roll right on around him here. A little 3 wide out there. Trying to get around that lap traffic is unfortunately for Jaden Rico. Going to go another lap down out there on the speedway, but he's going to gain another position as Caleb Holloman down pit side. Going to go multiple laps down there and give another spot there to Richard Rico as the 42 ride of Nick Jensen. Jensen is that first car 1 lap down on the racetrack. The 46 ride, he's the next driver in line. He's at the tail end of the lead lap cars here in 20th on the speedway. Now he does have a pretty good gap between himself and Zach Perry on the racetrack, about half a track there between himself and the rest of this field. So for the number 42 of Nick Jensen, he loves to see that. He still has that pretty heavy right front damage here on that 42 ride. Unfortunately, not able to stick with that group, and he's at risk of potentially going another lap down, but still in that free pass position. He's just hoping to really see this caution flag come out for the stage ending here in just a few more laps. As lap 65 is the end of stage number 2. The caution flag will come back out. He's in position to get the wave around the free pass back onto the lead lap and able to get some more work done and try to get this 42 car back into the action here this evening and try to get a bit better of a finish than being stuck back in 21st. Is Zach Perry there in the top spot, looking to try to pick up this stage win. Has Zach Claytor right there behind him. Claytor, our stage 1 winner, in position number 2. We'll have to wait and see if they decide to make some moves here later in this stage and see if he jumps up maybe to the outside or tries to find a hole down low to get around that 76 and steal stage number 2 as well and try to sweep our stages here in race number 1 of the season. And Zach Perry leading the way. Claytor right there with him. It's Ryan Haller in position number 3 here. Haller's been having himself a heck of a day at the racetrack here this afternoon. That 23 ride has been hooked up here this afternoon and looking very solid out there as William Bogart now into position number 4. Keegan Huey back up inside the top 5 here as here comes that 77 ride looking to the outside, trying to get a big run here, trying to make this a 2-wide battle here and a little bit of door-to-door action here for this stage win. As Brian Underwood getting a good shot from the 7 of Caden Gargiulo. Gargiulo trying to get him rocking and rolling towards the front of the field. They got the 16 right of Matthew Wood there, 3rd in line. And there you go. There's the move. Zach Claytor jumps to the outside lane. They're going to leave the 76 high and dry. Ryan Haller goes with them. They're going to slide up in front of that 77 of Brian Underwood. And now you see the 23, unfortunately a little too high right there. That may break things up a little bit more. He's pushed up into that 3rd lane, and unfortunately for the 23, that could slide him back outside of the top 10 and out of a position to gain some stage points. As here he goes, falling like a rock there on that 3rd lane, and unfortunately will now fall outside the top 10 on the racetrack. So a tough break right there for Ryan Haller with that 39 right of Zach Claytor, as Claytor able to stay there at the front of the field here as he's still battling door-to-door with the 76 of Zach Perry. They're side by side down across the line as the 42 right, unfortunately going to go a second lap down out there on the racetrack, still in position for the lucky dog, but unfortunately will still be 1 lap down even after getting that free pass. As Wyatt Mickelson and that number 51 right, hoping to try to figure out where his teammate's going to go here, see if him and the 23 can get hooked together and see if they can race their way back up inside the top 5 for the end of this feature, or for the end of the stage here. Is the 5 right of Grant Applegate up the racetrack there a little bit too far as they're rolling around the other 5 right out there on the racetrack, as that is the 5 machine of Jaden Rico, unfortunately going another lap down out there on the racetrack, still struggling with that car, and obviously no drafting help for that 5 right. Unfortunately another lap down now on the racetrack is Zach Claytor out in front. He was able to find a hole down low, slide in front of that 76 right is Zach Perry. Perry now on his back bumper trying to keep him out in front. Here is the 77 ride and some of these premium stock car racing league drivers racing their way to the front of the field. As Brian Underwood will take that race lead away, we get a new race race leader here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Caden Gargiulo up into second here. We'll see if they slide down and leave Matthew Wood high and dry, or if they stick to that outside lane as they're getting hooked together here. Here comes Aiden Lucas into the back bumper as there you go. You do see the 77. You do see that 7 ride of Brian Underwood and Caden Gargiulo jump down low. Now Gargiulo's going to leave Underwood high and dry, is down across the line. That is going to start our final lap here of stage number 2. So next time around, we'll hand out some more stage points here and some bonus points for our playoffs here. A bonus point for our playoffs. Drivers trying to push their way into the front of the field here, hoping to have the right lane, guessing right out there on the racetrack, because now you do see Matthew Wood. He's going to go up to that third lane. They're going to lead the 77 ride high and dry down through the middle, and that's going to kind of hold up that outside lane as here we go down across the line. It's the 7 of Caden Gargiulo. Gargiulo will pick up stage win number 2 here this afternoon. Zach Claytor there in second. I do believe the 16 of Matthew Wood going to come home in third. Zach Perry there in fourth. Aiden Lucas back in fifth with Grant Applegate, William Bogart, Brian Underwood, Keegan Huey, and Ryan Haller picking up that 10th and final point here in stage number 2 this afternoon. So at least for Haller, able to salvage something there late in that race after getting shuffled back into outside of a stage point area and racing his way back inside the top 10 there. Haller showing that he's got some good speed, but right there some great racing action, and that's exactly what we got to look forward to here in our feature event late in this race, as drivers are going to look to kind of battle like that throughout this entire final stage, and it's going to be a nail biter right down to the checkered flag. We've seen multiple 2-wide, 3-wide finishes here, very, very close finishes by millimeters out there on the racetrack, separating first, second, and third out there on the speedway, and that's potentially what we'll see here this afternoon as Caden Gargiulo able to pick up that stage win. Zach Claytor coming home in position number 2 as we do see drivers head down pit side here. We didn't see Caden Gargiulo or Zach Claytor come down pit road themselves. I don't know what the strategy call was there for the 7 or the 39 ride, as they got to be very, very close on fuel. I don't know if pit road had to have been open, but maybe it was closed for the 7 and the 39 ride. Maybe a little too quick out there on the speedway, and not seeing pit lane open there, as unfortunately now they're going to be kind of off sequence as everyone else heads down pit road, getting some fuel, getting some tires onto their race cars, getting ready to rock and roll here for our third and final stage of the day. So our final stage about to come right at you for some of those drivers that were a little deeper in the field there and had no drafting help, or were only a couple car pack there, not going to lap down, able to get that caution flag and now rejoin this field as 20 drivers on the lead lap is the 46 of Mike Corvillo rounding out our top 20 there, still on the lead lap. Nick Jensen is going to get that wave around the free pass. He is still a lap down out there on the racetrack, but now takes that 42 down pit side, looking to get some work done, do it, open for another quick caution flag, and another opportunity for him to gain that free pass out there again on the speedway and get back onto the lead lap here himself. As Caden Gargiulo is now going to head down pit side here, so the 7 and the 39. Not sure how this is going to stack him up for this feature event. Obviously not pitting with everybody else, and that should shuffle them back to the rear of the field here. So definitely a tough break for our Stage 1 and Stage 2 winners, as they'll head down pit side here all by themselves here on the front straightaway. Everyone else going to roll around them. That will move them back there deeper in the field. But for Matthew Wood, that's going to be a good break, as he will now be our race leader as the 5 ride on a different pit cycle than everybody else here, and trying to salvage as much as he can for the day. He's in front of our race leaders. He's going to get the wave around back around the pace car. He'll at least get a lap back out there on the speedway, but still off sequence with these pit stops. And unfortunately still multiple laps down out there on the speedways. Matthew Wood getting ready to go to battle here. He is our race leader. He'll be the control car here on the restart. Aiden Lucas there in second. Zach Perry in third with the 77 of Brian Underwood, rounding out our top 4. Rounding out our top 5 is the 38 of Keegan Huey with William Jason Bogart there. Does William, or does he go by Jason, or does he go by William out there on the racetrack? We do see Ramrod says, "Let's go Jason," number 71. So I'm assuming he goes by Jason Bogart, not William Bogart out there on the racetrack for the 71 ride. Well, try to keep that in the memory bank here as he's there in position number 6. In position number 7 is the 32 right of Nick Biddy. He's got Joe David there to his outside. Then we see Wyatt Mickelson and Michael Durham Jr. rounding out our top 10. Ryan Haller back there in 11th with Evan Stewart, Trent Johns, Jaden Porter, Ethan Greek, Michael Ponder Jr., Grant Applegate, Caden Gargiulo, Zach Claytor in the 46 right of Mike Corveo, rounding out our field here. Our lead lap drivers, our top 20 out there on the racetrack. Nick Jensen still a lap down in the 42 right. He scored back in 21st is Logan Perryman. Multiple laps down there in 22nd. Same with Jaden Rico there in 23rd. And Caleb Holloman also multiple laps down back out there on the racetrack in 24th. As out in front, the green flag quickly back out into the air. A great restart there for that 16 right as Ramrod says he goes by Jason, his middle name. Okay, he goes by his middle name. Okay, all right. Hey, you know what? I like it. I respect it. You know, William's more of a older name. You know, most people, if they're named William, they usually go by Will or potentially one of their middle names until they get a little bit older. Then they kind of go by, Will, and then Will turns into Bill, and then Bill turns into William as they get to, later in their life. So that's definitely the evolution there of the Williams in the world. As out in front, Matthew Wood leads the way, but contact back there behind him. Caution flag will come back out as the 37 of Evan Stewart going around here deeper in the field. Now that's a tough break there for Evan Stewart. Quite a bit of damage here on that AG Designs ride, and unfortunately gonna have to go down pit side for extensive repairs here. And Caden Gargiulo, that mistake, not coming down pit side with everybody else. Now back there deeper in the field, and he's going to get tied up in this one. 37 up on the high side, tries to come down the racetrack. Unfortunately, the 7 with a big head of steam ends up getting into that left rear quarter panel of the 37 right. So Caden Gargiulo now some damage here himself. The 37 and him get tied together out at corner number 2. He watches back up the racetrack here. Hard contact into the outside fence. Jaden Porter just able to avoid contact. Everyone else able to get down onto the apron and avoid running into that AG's Designs 37 machine of Evan Stewart. Now, tough break for Stewart. He's going to have to get that car repaired and get back out there onto the racetrack. But for Nick Jensen, that was a timely caution flag right there for him, as that is going to give him the lucky dog once again here this afternoon, and that will put him back onto the lead lap here in that 42 machine. So we'll now have 21 drivers onto the lead lap here this evening, as Matthew Wood out in front leading the way in that WeatherTech number 16 machine. As we'll get ready to go back to Green Flag Racing, the action's going to get picked back up here in just a few more moments. As ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if you haven't already, make sure you guys do us a favor. Over there on YouTube, over on Facebook, make sure you guys hit the like button on the broadcast here. Hit that thumbs up button right now. Show your appreciation, show your love here for all these drivers. Hit that like button and jump up into the comment section here and cheer on your favorite drivers. Let them know that you're watching. Let them know that you're cheering them on out there on the speedways. You see our race leader parking himself inside the pace car here this afternoon, trying to be incognito, trying to keep himself right there inside that iRacing race car there, the pace car, and unfortunately he's a little bit wider than that car, and unfortunately we can still see him there. He's not hiding from anybody out there on the racetrack right now, as Matthew having some fun out there on the speedway, and we're getting ready to rock and roll here once again here this afternoon. Now that caution flag, a timely one there for the 42 right, and now for these drivers potentially kind of making their calculators work a little overtime here this afternoon. Having that caution flag, another couple laps under the yellow where you can kind of get into that fuel conserving area here, trying to keep your cars out of the throttle, trying to just turn them off and maybe clutch it down through the middle of these corners, and trying to save as much fuel as possible, as every single lap could potentially mean another lap or two out there on the racetrack, or having availability to make some late race moves and using some late race restarts or late race strategy here to put yourself up into victory lane. As Jimmy Six Times says, we have tornadoes here going to be going to the basement. Oh no. Gosh, brother, good luck. Hopefully nothing major. Hopefully no damage to your house or any of your neighbors or anything else. And hopefully everyone stays safe there in that one, man. That's tough, man. tornadoes are a scary, scary thing. Up here in Ontario, we don't normally see any tornadoes, so I don't know what they're like, but I mean, just from movies and seeing them on TV, the destruction and damage and chaos that they can create is never a good thing. So hopefully it's nothing big, hopefully just a little small one, hopefully no damage dealt out there in your area, man. As Lonnie says, go Bogart, cheering on Bogart out there on the racetrack, cheering on that 71 machine as we get ready to go back to Green Flag Racing here in this one. As the host says, let's go Grant, Johnny Appleseed. Johnny Appleseed out there on the speedway. As the host says, no, Evan, I run with him on NASCAR Heat 5 too. I gotta check iRacing out. Yeah, iRacing is the place to be, brother. iRacing is the best place to be. It is the closest thing to real life racing that you'll ever experience here in iRacing. It's a little costly to start things out. Obviously a PC and a racing wheel and maybe that, racing setup and everything else. And it can definitely get costly up front, but you can definitely do it for fairly cheap and join in on the fun, and then slowly but surely upgrade all your equipment and get into the action here in iRacing. But there's no better experience than to be on iRacing. As here we go, back to battle here in our final stage of the day, as 75 laps being completed here the next time around, and that means we're going to have about 55 laps left of racing action here this afternoon. So there's still a lot of time, a lot of racing action here in this race, and with maybe minimal caution flags here throughout the rest of this stage, potentially green flag pit stops hanging just around the corner here as well, which could really break things open, could really create some chaos for these drivers, obviously having to try to be perfect down on pit road. But contact, around goes Matthew Wood, our race leader, hard up into the outside fence. Heavy contact right there as the 16 rider Matthew Wood gets turned around and up into the outside fence, and that car is absolutely destroyed. He's gonna have to try to get it down pit side, hope to have that quick repair and get that 16 machine fixed back up and back out there onto the racetrack. As Aiden Lucas all over his back bumper here, Aiden more towards that right rear quarter panel, and unfortunately here, just the wrong place to be pushing on the back bumper of that 16 rider. And unfortunately, that's what's going to cost this 16 rider his quick repair and potentially a front run right here on the day. As you see the 34 just up the racetrack a little bit higher than the 16, not able to hang it down on that white and red line, and just stays kind of glued right there to that right rear quarter panel back bumper area. And unfortunately, that just gets the 16 bent out of shape. He gets to the outside and then just kind of hooks him up and into that outside fence. Heavy hit right there for Matthew Wood, and for Matthew, definitely not what he wanted to see leading this race, getting turned around and into the outside fence. And luckily enough though, everyone else able to get down low and avoid additional contact, additional carnage out there on the racetrack, and keeping themselves from getting tied up and hitting that 16 machine. As a tore up race car, one car going around, heavy damage there for Matthew Wood as he'll take his car back down pit side, looking to get some repairs done too. We see that 3 ride also coming down pit side. Ethan Greek making some strategy calls in that 46 ride. Mike back there blinking pretty hard back there deeper in the field. He scored back in 21st, and for that 46 ride blinking as much as he was right there, hoping that that doesn't continue here throughout this feature event. He does have a little bit of right front damage that he's trying to get repaired and try to jump back out there onto the racetrack. Is Aiden Lucas, our race leader here in this one now, after unfortunately taking out our race leader out there on the racetrack. A lot of contact, a lot of damage, and unfortunately for Matthew Wood, he's got to use that quick repair. He's got to try to get this car fixed up. There he is, down pit road. Looks like they have gotten that car repaired. He rolls back out onto the racetrack here, and luckily enough, that car is repaired, but now not having that in your back pocket for later in this race. If he gets tied up in another incident, could be down pit side for an extended period of time here late in this race, and could be all she wrote for that 16 ride. So kind of minus a little bit of a get out of jail free card. They were in his back pocket as we get rolling here on the racetrack, and we'll get ready to go back to Green Flag Racing. So the 34 of Aiden Lucas, after making that contact, they see a big move. Brian Underwood heads down pit road here and off the racetrack. Underwood heads down pit side and right down onto the hauler. I don't know what may have just happened there, but Brian Underwood all of a sudden out of this race, and that's a heartbreaker for the 77. He was rolling there in position number 2, was having himself a great run in that 77 Silverado Chevrolet, and unfortunately now down and back on the hauler here. Oh man, heartbreaker there for Brian Underwood, and for all the Underwood fans not seeing him compete for the rest of this race, man, that is a heartbreaker as we'll get ready to go back to battle. We'll get ready to duke it out here once again on the afternoon and see what these drivers can do, see who can put themselves up and into victory lane or play that strategy perfectly here this evening and potentially pick up the dub. As here we go, down the back straightaway, they're side by side, Aiden Lucas out in front, and now the 71 ride, that is Bogart into position number 2 on the racetrack. So Jason Bogart into second, Zach Perry there in third with Keegan Huey there in 4th. Nick Biddy in 5th with Wyatt Mickelson now in 6th. Grant Applegate there in 7th with Michael Durham Jr. back there in 8th. Zach Glater up into the 10th position, and Joe David down to his inside. They round out that 5th row on the speedway with Trent Johns, the 7 of Caden Gargiulo, Ryan Haller, Jaden Porter, Evan Stewart, our top 15, Michael Ponder Jr., Nick Jensen, Ethan Greek, Matthew Wood, and Mike Corvillo rounding out our top 20 here on the speedway. Underwood still down and off the racetrack here is Logan Perryman and Jaden Rico. And Caleb Holloman hoping to see that 77 ride not rejoin this field, and potentially they could work themselves another spot up here on the racetrack, really salvage another position and another point here on the afternoon. As the green flag back out into the air, we quickly see things kind of shape up a little bit more single file here. Unfortunately for that 51 ride, kind of left high and dry on that outside lane, finally finds a hole, jumps down low underneath that 00 ride of Michael Durham Jr. and Wyatt Mickelson slides back into position number 8 there on the racetrack. He's got that 39 of Zach Glater right there on his back bumper as Joe David rounding out our top 10, and contact back there behind him, and around goes, oh no, Matthew Wood going around again here, and I think that may be all she wrote for Matthew Wood this afternoon as Matthew getting taken out here. The last couple caution flags got turned out in front of the field here, leading this race, now turned around and unfortunately had to use that quick repair. Now again on the front straightaway, he's on the ground here down low. Unfortunately, looks like they just kind of run out of room. I don't think Greek realized that he was down low on the apron right there. He's trying to stay in line with the 42 ride. They make contact. Around goes Matthew Wood. That car heavily damaged again on the racetrack. If you watch, I don't think the 3 ride realized that he was down low. He was just trying to follow in the tire tracks of the 42, not realizing the 16 was there to the inside, and ends up coming down into him there. Unfortunately, hooks him around and up into the outside fence again for that 16 machine. Heavy damage here, and unfortunately, already using that quick repair. That damage is potentially going to take him out of this race as he is down pit side looking to get that car repaired. He's potentially going to be down there for an extended period of time, already at least a lap down, as we do see Aiden Lucas now head down pit side here himself. So everyone else looks to be staying out on the racetrack. Aiden Lucas coming down pit road in that 34 ride, looking for repairs, looking to try to get that car rocking and rolling here again. But for Matthew Woodman, heartbreaker in race number 1 on the season, Logan Perryman, he's going to be happy about that one as he's going to get another wave around here, and currently being the only driver a lap down out there on the racetrack, potentially going to race his way back onto the lead lap with all these yellow flags. All these yellow flags helping him back into the action in that DeWalt 99 ride, and I do believe he's still going to be a lap down, but you get another caution flag, another quick one here, could get himself back onto the lead lap. As here we go, Ethan Greek down pit side looking to get some repairs, some tires, and fuel back into that 3 ride. We also see that 97 machine of Caleb Holloman down pit side. Brian Underwood has now fallen back to 23rd as Perriman, Wood, and Jaden Rico all able to roll around him and put him back into that 23rd spot, and potentially could fall back into last place in 24th if this 97 ride continues on here this evening. As out in front, it's Jason Bogart. Bogart had that race lead as the caution flag was thrown, so we get a new race leader here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. A lot of drivers leading laps here this evening, and now that 1776 Motorsports Flex Seal number 71 ride at Jason Bogart out in front, leading us here in this one. His teammate right there with him in that 1776, the America rides. Their motorsports machines and teammates 1 and 2 on the speedway. As we're going to get ready to go back to battle here in this one, I do believe this time by the start-finish line, lights are going to turn off the official iRacing safety vehicle as Matthew Wood says, yeah, car's done. Just right hooked me, laugh out loud. Yeah, unfortunately got right hooked 2 times in a row, quickly out there on the racetrack in quick concession there for Matthew Wood, and all of a sudden, his car down pit side, done for the afternoon. Heavy damage, not once, but twice, having to use that quick repair the first time. Unfortunately, the second time, not having that in his back pocket anymore, and now down pit side, extensive repairs being done, and even if he can't get back out there onto the racetrack, he's going to be a lot of laps down. As Mr. Underwood says, well, that's all, folks. Time to get the kids to bed. Oh, Underwood, that's what happened. Okay, Underwood had to put the kids to bed here. Unfortunately, run a little late there for him. Had to go put the kids to bed. We saw you running there in second, Underwood, and then all of a sudden we see you just make that hard left-hand turn down pit side and off the racetrack. You went quickly down on the pit road, stopped, towed into the stall, and right out of the race. I was like, what in the world's going on there? That's a heartbreaker there for you, Underwood. Having a great run here this afternoon, but hopefully you had some fun, and hopefully we see you back in action here next Sunday. As Ramrod says, nice job, Jason and Zach. Keep it up. As Matthew Wood said, he apologized, no hard feelings. Yeah, definitely no hard feelings. I think the 3 ride was just trying to follow in the tire tracks of the 42. I don't think he realized you were down low right there. That was just coincidental contact there, hard racing, and 2-3 wide out there on the speedway. And unfortunately, though, that 34 ride of Aiden Lucas, his was a lot worse right there, as he was hooked into you there just a little too far out in that rear bumper, and unfortunately just kind of hooked you and turned you around that first time, and definitely could have used that quick repair there later on. As here we go, back to green flag racing, as Jason Bogart out in front leading the way here. Unfortunately, his teammate no help, can't find a hole down low. He's going to slide back to at least that 3rd, 4th position here, trying to find something down low and hoping to get a little bit of help here. Here comes that 0-0 ride coming to his back bumper, hoping to line up together here down the front straightaway, but they're potentially going to leave him high and dry. Nope, he's able to slide up in front of that Crown Royal number 00 machine and get some help here in that outside groove. Is the 39 ride of Zach Glazer. He's right there as well. As now here we go, the 0-0 does dip down low and leave him high and dry, as here comes Grant Applegate. Applegate racing his way inside the top 3 as he jumps to the outside of that 38 ride, now looking to try to move himself a little farther forward here and trying to get that HendrickCars.com ride to the front of the field. The 76 coming with a big head of steam here as Claytor pushing him up to the front of the pack here as they are quickly rolling around that number 38, and now they're trying to hunt down our race leaders. As Applegate leaves that outside lane, jumps down to the inside and right to the rear bumper of Nick Biddy out there on the racetrack, but now still poking his nose to the outside, looking to carry that momentum to the outside groove, and he is looking to go for the race lead here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. As ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, some great racing action out there on the speedways. The pushing and the shoving is just starting to heat up as drivers know that this race is coming to a close in a quick hurry, with about 42 laps of racing action left in this one. As Dusty Stud says, Nick Jensen, win incoming. It would be a miraculous run if Nick Jensen could come back from multiple laps down, heavy damage on that 42 ride, and pick up the win here this afternoon. He's back on the lead lap, and anything can happen out there on the speedway. As jump into the comment section, hit that like button, hit that share button, hit that follow and subscribe button, and jump into that comment section and let us know who you're cheering for and who you want to see up in victory lane here in about 40 laps from now, as this race coming to a close in a quick hurry, and we're going to jump into a Peacemaker Gaming Crank It Up. So crank up that volume, cheer on your favorite drivers as we crank it up here on Peacemaker Gaming. our front runners. And the caution flag will come back out here in this one. Caution flag back out there on the racetrack as the Peacemaker Gaming crank it up. Caution flag curse will continue here this afternoon as a bunch of drivers tied up down here through down the front straightaway here into corner number 1. We saw the 39 ride of Zach Glater. He got tied up in a heavy damage down pit side. Grant Applegate and a bunch of other cats all tied up here and tore up down the front straightaway into corner number 1 here. As let's take a look back at it. You see Applegate in that HandrickCars.com ride roll into the outside lane here. And that is the 23 down low of Ryan Haller. And unfortunately right here looks like Haller's going to come up the racetrack into that left rear quarter panel of the 5 ride. He gets loose, washes up the racetrack, hard contact into the outside fence. Clater nowhere to go, slams into the back end of him. Clater comes back down the racetrack here. He's going to run into that 7 ride of Caden Gargiulo as he slams back up into the outside fence. Gargiulo into the wall. Here comes Evan Stewart. He's going to slam into him. And I think that 3 ride's going to get a big piece there as well. And heavy damage. Multiple hits right there for that 39 ride. Some big hits there for Zach Clater. Big hits for Grant Applegate. And unfortunately, some heavy damage there for Caden Gargiulo as well after pancaking that outside fence. But heavy damage. A lot of tore up race cars out there on the racetrack in the Peacemaker Gaming crank it up curse. Gonna continue on here this afternoon as let's jump on board with this number 39 ride and see what he can see from the cockpit as he's right here on the back bumper of that 5 ride. He's gonna see that contact right there. The 5 gets loose and all of a sudden slammed up into the outside fence. Nowhere for him to go. Heavy damage and now he's just on for the ride and getting bounced around here. Heavy hits there, and unfortunately that may be all she wrote for Clater and his afternoon here on the Speedway as that car tore up, still down pit side, now already a couple laps down here for that 39 machine, and unfortunately this late in the race, potentially not enough time to get those laps back and back into the action here this evening as you see Grant Applegate down pit road. He's going to use his quick repair, get that car fixed back up and back out there onto the racetrack. Caden Gargiulo trying to get his car repaired as Logan Perryman also down pit side, the 46 ride back down pit road as well as Evan Stewart. Stewart trying to get his car repaired, trying to get it back into one piece and hoping to be able to keep on rolling here this afternoon as well as a bunch of tore up race cars, a lot of tore up sheet metal down the front straightaway and into corner number 1 as a big caution flag right there, and a lot of drivers unfortunately not where they wanted to be, but some different pitch strategies here, and we do see Joe David now as our race leader. So Joe David now out in front leading this race. Ethan Greek into position number 2. Jason Bogart there in 3rd with Nick Biddy and Wyatt Mickelson rounding out our top 5.
Turbocharged hard, piston pumping like a beast. Black top, jungle feast on chaos, grab the grease. 180 miles of asphalt ain't forgiven. In this chaos-driven life, only the fearless living. Checkered flag visions, adrenaline addiction. Metal chorus blare, ain't no friction fiction. Drafting on the homies, camaraderie's the trigger. Slides on the track, bombs ready, yeah we bigger. Rubber trains chasing speed and money. Engines roaring loud, blazing through the night. Lap after lap, with fire in our veins. Run till we drop, or burst into flames. Fueling up the spirit, nitro in the soul. Cranking up the madness, losing all control. Curves like serpents, straightaways divine. Track burning hot, toasting every line. Pit stop hustle, seconds ticking like grenades. Oil stained glory, history never fades. Helmet and visor, it's a warrior's enchantment. Every turn a gamble, every lap a commitment. Crowds move.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, here we go. Back to Green Flag Racing here in the Wheel-to-Wheel Racing League. As down out of corner number 4, the pace car will head back down pit side and unleash this field back into the hands of Joe David, who leads this race as we go back to battle here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. The sun is starting to set. The lights are coming on here at Atlanta. A little bit of a night race shaping up here later on this Sunday afternoon as these drivers ready to duke it out here for our final final 30-something laps here this afternoon, and here you go. It's going to be a bit of a battle all the way down to the checkered flag here. Drivers potentially able to make it the rest of the way on fuel if they were able to save right there during that yellow flag, potentially make it here to the checkered flag and not have to make their way back down pit side. So pit strategy, potentially track position could play a key role here in this race, especially if we see some late race caution flags, as we'll go back to our Peacemaker Gaming Crank It Up. Alrighty, 20 laps left to go, and bringing a close there to our Peacemaker Gaming. Crank it up. The sights and sounds around the beautiful Atlanta Motor Speedways. This race quickly coming to a close. That sun now setting down over that first corner wall there, and obviously that was really affecting these drivers there for quite a few laps, and potentially the cause of a couple of these caution flags later on in this race, as that sun definitely really affecting them. But we do see the caution flag come back out, and some carnage down the back straightaway. Evan Stewart collected the 22 of Michael Ponder Jr. in there, as a couple drivers down the back straightaway tied up and turned around. The caution flag will come out here late in this race. Let's take a look back and see what happens here, as Evan Stewart, he was trying to get back onto the racetrack here. Now, I don't know if he had anything to do with this one. I think he was just an innocent bystander, as the 5 ride, the more than a cape.org, number 5, has the 22 to his outside here. He's unfortunately going to poke down to the middle, unfortunately comes back up into the 97 ride. That's just going to hook that 97 machine around, and for oh, man, tough break there for Caleb Holloman all afternoon. Gets up into the outside fence. 22 trying to avoid him. Comes down the racetrack into that number 5 ride. And Logan Perry, man, he gets tied up in this one as well, as they're both kind of right there in it. They get tied together. Hard contact into the outside fence between the 99 and the 97. And the 22 and 5 ride getting together. Sends that 5 ride back up the racetrack here. And that's where he's going to end up getting a piece of the 37 ride here, as he's just trying to roll back out onto the racetrack. And he's going to come back up. He's going to hook that number 37 of Evan Stewart. Stewart just trying to get back up to speed down the back straightaway and rejoin this race. And unfortunately, down there on the apron, gets taken out nonetheless. Again, heavy contact there to the rear end, into the front end there. Heavy contact again for Jaden Rico, and for Caleb Holloman, the 22 ride tied up in it of Michael Ponder Jr. as him and the 97 going to come together again. Front end damage there for both of them again. Down low here in corner number 3, as a bunch of tore up race cars. A lot of cats having some issues there deeper in the field at the back of the pack here. And that's going to bring out a late race caution flag here. That's really going to mix things up, really make things interesting here this afternoon. Trying to figure out what these drivers are going to do, who needs to go where, who's going to make a run to maybe come down pit side, get some fresh tires, or not wanting to give up that track position. As there you go again, there's the contact. All these drivers getting tied up, tore up out there on the racetrack. Heavy damage here for a lot of these cats as the 99, the 22 get together again here. That's where you see these two come back together head on there on the bottom side of corner number 3. And unfortunately, that caution flag coming back out right as the Crank It Up was coming to a close here, and some issues late in this race, and now that's going to shape things up here for an exciting finish this afternoon, as that's going to put everyone right back together, tight together on the racetrack. And late in this race now, with that extra couple caution laps, all these drivers should be good on gas, so not wanting to give up track position. Not a lot of cats came down pit road, just guys trying to get some late race repairs, trying to get their cars fixed up. A couple drivers deeper in the pack trying to use that strategy, as we saw the 2 of Trenton Johns and Caden Gargiulo. They came down pit road. They got some fresh tires and some extra fuel into their race cars, and they're going to get ready to go back to battle here in this one. If we do see some NASCAR overtime here this afternoon, some of these cats could start to get into some of that questionable fuel mileage out there. And for these two making their early pit stop, coming down pit side, getting that extra fuel and tires and everything else, could be a big move late in this race. As in front, Aiden Lucas, and took that race lead away, that Goat Racing diecast ride, getting ready to go back to battle here. Keegan Huey to his outside, the 23, Ryan Haller there in 3rd. Jason Bogart there in 4th, and Wyatt Mickelson rounding out our top 5 out there on the racetrack. Nick Biddy, Michael Durham Jr., Zach Perry, Grant Applegate, and Ethan Greek rounding out our top 10 on the racetrack, as we get ready to go back to green flag racing in what could be our final restart of the day. Potentially our final restart here this evening, as Toby Welsh coming in with that follow over on Twitch, and also coming in with the Welsh Gaming sub over there on YouTube. Welcome to the Peacemaker family, not only over on Twitch, but also over there on YouTube. There, Welsh Gaming, Mr. Toby Welsh coming in, showing the love here in this one. As here we go, back to green flag racing here at the beautiful Atlanta Motor Speedway. The sun has set, the lights are turned on here, and we will finish in the dark this afternoon. afternoon. Potentially still a little dusk out there, but for right now, it's going to get very, very interesting to see whose car is going to come to life here in a little bit more grip, but cool down racetrack, and maybe someone finding that extra bit of speed that they may need to put themselves up into victory lane. As the 38 run getting a good run to the outside quickly, takes that race lead away, jumps down in front of that 34 ride of Aiden Lucas. You'll see the 71 ride of Jason Bogart going to go with them. As the 32 ride of Nick Biddy now trying to get to the inside here of that 34 ride, battling door to door for position number 3 on the speedway. Ryan Haller right there as well. Haller just on the outside of the top 5 here as he battles door to door with the 76 right of Zach Berry. Ryan Haller, he's got his teammate Wyatt Mickelson right there with him on his back bumper. See if they can get tied together late in this race. See if they can try to push each other towards a top 5, maybe a race win here this evening, as both drivers have been very strong here this afternoon. And for the first time, we see that 46 right of Mike Corvino up inside the top 10 here this afternoon. Mike has been hanging out, had some issues, had a little damage, but now that 46 ride up inside the top 10, looking to try to race his way up to the front of the field. Ethan Greek unfortunately falls back into the 11th position in that Bass Pro Shops number 3 ride. Is right there behind them, not too far back, is Nick Jensen. Jensen in that 15th position, trying to hang on, trying to get that tail end of the draft here and making sure that he can stay in this battle as he rolls there in 15th. Unfortunately, a little farther back, you do see that 74 ride of Jaden Porter. Really falling back here. These drivers need to get lined together in a quick hurry to see if they can jump back up there and see if they can try to catch up to that lead back here. Unfortunately, they're pretty strung out right there. That 4-car battle right there, as that is the number 74 Jaden Porter, the 99 of Logan Perryman, the 39 of Zach Later there in 19th, and Evan Stewart, who rounds out our top 20 there with them. And unfortunately, they are now quite a few seconds back away from our race leaders here in that lead pack. 1.6 seconds back of Nick Jensen in that 15th spot, as Nick Biddy able to make some moves, and Biddy now out in front. That outside lane was moving well here, and he was able to jump down low in front of the 38 right and take that race lead away. But now it's Zach Perry who's going to have his turn, trying to get out in front here late in this race. Is down across the line, only 11 more laps left to go. 11 more laps here in this one, in that number 32 ride, looking to try to cash in and pick up the first checkered flag of the season here in the Wheel-to-Wheel Racing League. Was that our final restart? Was it our final caution flag? Or do we see some more craziness unfold late in this race, as every single one of these drivers looking to push a little bit harder, looking for some more open doors, not going to be scared to make some moves and try to put themselves into what could be a winning move, or potentially could be a absolute catastrophe out there on the speedway. The big blocks, the big moves, they're about to happen here as only 10 laps left to go. Drivers know that their time to get to the front of the field, their time to shine is right now, as everyone trying to race up there to the front of the pack. As now you do see that 38 ride of Keegan Huey all over the back bumper of that 32 ride, pushing him out in front. They got a couple car length lead now between themselves and Aiden Lucas, as Lucas rolls there in position number 3. Ryan Haller back up inside the top 5 as he rolls there in 4th. His teammate right there in the 51 ride, and Wyatt Mickelson going to join him here as they're now inside the top 5. Some contact down the back straightaway. Around goes that 6 ride. Heavy contact here for Joe David. David goes around down on the apron. No caution flag as he stopped there on the speedway. He's going to get that car rolling back out onto the racetrack here. No yellow flag, and unfortunately now back in that 16th spot on the racetrack here. A heartbreaker there for that 6th ride as Nick Biddy continues to lead the way. Keegan Huey there in second. That 34 ride of Aiden Lucas in position number 3. Lucas definitely not going to be scared to try to make some moves, try to jump out and see if he can try to take this race lead away. As here we go, he does jump to the outside lane, takes a peek there for a quick second. Doesn't see a whole lot else jumping out there for him, so he stays right in line, stays glued to the back bumper of that 38 ride, as here comes Ryan Haller and Wyatt Mickelson closing in on the back bumper of that 34 ride. Now you start to see that outside lane trying to get something built up here again. The 76 ride sees Caden Gargiulo out there, sees Ethan Greek out there as well. They're trying to get that groove rolling here. Unfortunately, seems like once these drivers start to go a little bit more side by side back there outside of that lead pack, it all of a sudden just kind of slows them down quite a bit here. And once again, you start to see that gap start to build between the 51 of Wyatt Mickelson and that second grouping here. They're trying to keep that pace, though, trying to keep up with them here and see if they can try to reel in these drivers and make this a 2x2 out there at the front of the field. They want to see this go double file, maybe even 3 lanes out there on the speedway. And for that 34 line of Aiden Lucas, he wants to see it as well. He has just been dancing around there off the back bumper of that 38 line, just itching, waiting to make a move here, trying to see if he can find a way back out in front as he wants to put himself into victory lane. Right now, though, doesn't see really anyone that wants to go with them. I'm not sure if Ryan Haller or Wyatt Mickelson will lead that bottom side and go with that number 23 or 34 line to the outside groove here. And right now, those other drivers, they're a little too far back, but man, oh man, the pushing and shoving, it is heated up. And now here you go, the 23 Ryan Haller, he gets underneath of that 34 line. Aiden Lucas gets shuffled back in the 23 Haller, now up into third as they make that move. And now here comes that 34. He's able to get the draft off that 76 ride, and here they come. The outside lane trying to get moving. They only got 3-4 cars up there in that outside lane. They may need a little bit more help, maybe a little bit more action there to that outside lane, and see if someone else jumps up and helps them try to jump to the front of the field here. Applegate, the 46 ride, the green line, who's going to jump up there and try to help them out, try to get organized and try to make that outside lane work. Wyatt Mickelson, he's kind of playing blocker right there on that 00 ride. Michael Durham Jr., I think he's trying to think about it here. If he can get clear of that 34 right now, he may jump up there into that outside lane and see if Aiden Lucas will push him to the checkered flag, but there's contact back there behind him. Around they go. Caution flag late in the race as they're wrecking on the back straightaway. They're wrecking down here on the backstretch. The 34 line of Aiden Lucas around. Grant Applegate tied up in it as well, in heavy damage in a late race caution flag with only a few laps left to go here in this one. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you came here for a show. Well, here you go, as we're going to go to some NASCAR overtime here from Atlanta Motor Speedway. NASCAR overtime here for these drivers, and that's going to really spice things up late in this race. So let's take a look back and see what happens. As it starts with the 34 on the outside lane. He's been trying to get something going. He's been trying to get that lane moving. Unfortunately, moving around the racetrack a little bit too much with that 76 Ryan glued to his back bumper. He travels up the racetrack, the 76 holding his line, and unfortunately just gets down into that left rear quarter panel of that 34 ride here on corner exit, just pushing in the wrong spot there on that 34 ride, really just gonna spin that car around on him here. And unfortunately for Aiden, he comes down the racetrack, hard contact here into that 5 ride of Grant Applegate. Applegate nowhere to go. Innocent bystander down low. The 46, the 42, the 3 ride, all making some good moves. And unfortunately there for that 76 machine as well, getting some heavy front end damage. The 7 of Caden Gargiulo tied up in that one. The 71 ride also getting some damage there as well, as Jason Bogart nowhere to go. And you see Caden Gargiulo, man, hard contact into that inside fence. Hard contact for the 34 ride as well, as they walk down the racetrack and into that inside wall. A bunch of drivers just tore up out there on the speedway. Man, that car almost went up and over that fence. It's a lot of drivers tore up, man. That is a tough break out there on the racetrack. And now we do see some drivers making some strategy calls here. Wyatt Mickelson came down pit road. He was rolling inside the top 5, but now that we're rolling into a little bit of this NASCAR overtime, this is what we were talking about. Drivers were kind of right there on the edge on whether or not they could make it on fuel here this afternoon or not. And for a lot of them, probably trying to save here during these caution flags, may have been able to save enough for one of these NASCAR overtimes here as they're really getting to the edge of their fuel consumption. They were down pit road last. A lot of these guys up inside the top 10, top 14, 13 out there on the racetrack on lap number 93, which is 37 laps, and that's roughly what they start with, a full tank of fuel here. So if they got their tank completely filled during their pit stop on lap 93, then they basically can make it to the checkered flag, the allotted number of laps at lap number 130. But now that we've rolled into this green-white checkered, honestly, there's more time rolling under there under the caution, able to save a little bit of fuel. Maybe they were able to save 2 laps, maybe a couple extra laps there as well. But if we go to NASCAR overtime for a second attempt, a lot of these drivers could be running out of fuel, and that could fall right into the lap here for Trent Johns, as Johns did come back down pit road there during our caution flag around lap 111. He came down pit road, and right now out of the top 13 drivers on the racetrack, he's got the most fuel out there on the speedway. The most fuel, the most tires here in that number 2 ride, and he could be sitting pretty out there on the speedway. If these drivers start to run out of fuel, it could really open up the door for him, or if they have to come back down pit side, if we go to another NASCAR overtime, and they come back down pit road here, he'll be able to leapfrog all these guys and beat our race leader out there on the speedway. And for Wyatt Mickelson, early on, obviously, he knew he was too close on fuel and probably wasn't going to make it to the end, so he came down pit side, got some fuel into that number 51 machine, now scored back in the 14th position, getting ready for this restart here, and that's going to make things very, very interesting, man. If we do go to another NASCAR overtime here this afternoon, what that may mean for a lot of these drivers in their opportunity to win this race, and for a driver like that 2 ride of Trenton Johns, what it could mean to him to be able to get the runs and everything else. We're going to see here on this restart as drivers go back to the loud pedal here. The fuel may not be completely in the lines. They may spit and sputter here a little bit on this restart, so we'll have to keep an eye out. At the front of the field is Nick Biddy down through the Geico restart zone. Quickly back onto the loud pedal, gets a great launch there. Clears that 38 rider Keegan Huey. Huey going to follow in line. Here comes that 23 rider Ryan Haller. Haller hoping to get that car rolling as the 00 Michael Durham Jr. there to his outside, but no help right now to his back bumper. Here comes the 46 to the back end of the 23. Haller going to come with a big head of steam here as the front 2 cats, Nick Biddy and Keegan Huey, have pushed each other out in front by quite a ways out there on the racetrack. The rest of this field may be coming up in a quick win for him. Maybe they can make the move and steal this win away. Is down at a corner number 4 and across the line. We will see that white flag fly. So the final time around, no matter what, here this afternoon, even if the caution flag flies, we will see the checkered flag come out. There is no more attempts at NASCAR overtime as Nick Biddy down out of corner number 2 leads us down the back straightaway. Here comes a big run from the 00, the block into the 32, the 2 right up into the outside fence, more contact. Here comes Haller. He's looking to take this run to the back bumper of the 2 right. They're wrecking down through corner 3 and 4. Look out, down across the line. It's Nick Biddy who's able to pick up the checkered flag here in race number 1 of the wheel-to-wheel iRacing League as Nick Biddy cashes in and picks up the win in our opening event here from Atlanta Motor Speedway. Chaos there on that final lap. Unfortunately, a lot of drivers tore up, but it's the 32 who's able to race back to the start-finish line and get the jump done. That big block down the back straightaway, killing all that momentum for Michael Durham Jr., and unfortunately, he'll have to settle in for a second-place finish. And Ryan Haller, not on the hauler here this evening. Ryan comes home in position number 3. What a run there for Ryan Haller with a solid top 3 finish here this afternoon. Keegan Huey back in 4th, and Trent John back in position number 5. Zach Perry, Ethan Greek, Grant Applegate, Jaden Porter, and Jason Bogart rounding out our top 10. Wyatt Mickelson, Joe David, Nick Jensen, Logan Perryman, Mike Corveo there in position number 15 with Michael Potter Jr., Zach Clater, Caden Gargiulo, Aiden Lucas, Evan Stewart rounding out our top 20. Jaden Rico, Caleb Holloman, Matthew Wood, Brian Underwood bringing up the rear of the field here this afternoon, but it's all Nick Biddy. As Biddy is going to burn down the house here at Atlanta Motor Speedway as that NBD machine gets the job done and will pull himself up and into the winner's circle here this afternoon at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, give it up here for our race winner as Nick Biddy gets it done and picks up the checkered flag here this afternoon. And if you guys enjoyed that racing action, make sure you guys do us a favor. It's absolutely free to do. Hit that like button, hit that share button, and hit that follow and subscribe button if you're watching on Facebook, Twitch, or YouTube. Become part of the Peacemaker family today and turn those bell notifications on. That way you never miss it when we go live here on Peacemaker Gaming. As Nick Biddy getting it done, pulls himself up and into victory lane. We'll get ready to pull our top 3 up and into the broadcast booth as we're waiting for them to jump into the waiting room here. Obviously, some of these drivers probably wanting to go pee or, use the bathroom or anything else, or just try to catch their breath out there on the speedway after what was a absolutely insane race here this evening, man. That was a heck of a run, heck of a drive for each and every one of these competitors, and hell of a battle right down to the very end, man. A nail biter, like we talked about, man. This one was going to be a close finish no matter what. We were going to see some craziness late in this race, and that's exactly what we see here this evening as see if we can get these drivers, our top three, up and into the broadcast waiting room here. See if they jump down low. Let me see if we can jump into the general chat and throw that in there quickly as top three to the waiting room, please. Alrighty, let's see if we can get them in there, chat, and start pulling them in for their post-race interviews as, man, some great runs, some great drives right there as we do see a couple of them slide in there. There we go. There's our race winner. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, our race winner, Nick Biddy, getting it done and pulling himself up into victory lane. Let's pull him up here into the broadcast booth for his post-race interview. Hey, Nick, it's Aaron up here in the Peacemaker Broadcasting booth. Do you get a copy?
Hey, Aaron, how's it going, bud?
Not too bad, Nick, man. What a run. What a race for you here in this one. Take us back through it, man. Obviously, a lot of different strategy, a lot of carnage out there on the racetrack. You're able to keep yourself pretty much clean out there on the speedway for all these laps. And late in this one, just putting yourself in the right place at the right time and being out in front and down the back straightaway. Obviously, seeing that big run coming from the 00 of Michael Durham Jr. You leave that 38 right of Keegan Huey high and dry. You jump up to the outside lane and you block that big run into the 00, and that's what you needed to put yourself up into victory lane here this afternoon at Atlanta Motor Speedway, man. So take us back through this race and what's going through your mind right now as you park it up in victory lane.
Oh man, it's exciting. You know, being from Dawsonville, Georgia, it's you know, Atlanta. That's always a good spot to win, right? I mean, that's kind of hometown track. So yeah, it's very exciting. You know, brand new oval league here with wheel to wheel, and so it's I'm fired up. But on that restart, man, I knew I was kind of a sitting duck. You know, most of the time that outside line, especially Atlanta on these restarts, gets a huge run. So I was happy. I think it was the 37. I can't remember his name, but he was happy he stuck with me a little bit, and super happy Mr. Durham didn't dump me when I blocked him on the back stretch. But you know I'm glad everybody was clean. It was a good race, and can't wait for the rest of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Off to a hot start here and a great finish for yourself as you're able to pick up the first ever wheel-to-wheel points race victory this afternoon in our season opener and pull that 32 right. Obviously, a beautiful looking ride in your own Nick Biddy Designs machine here this afternoon. No better sponsorship than putting yourself on the car and up in victory lane here as you're able to get it done, pull that car into victory lane this afternoon. But take us back through some of the strategy out there, man. We know you guys came down pit road on lap 93, obviously getting these cars filled with fuel, but only having about 36, 37 laps of fuel during green flag racing. Obviously getting a couple of those caution flags, able to save a little bit out there on the racetrack. But how tight was that fuel getting late in this race? Because you have made it another, you know, 1 or 2 NASCAR overtime.
I might have had one more, maybe. No, we came down early, and you know, we had Joe David and Mike Corvo and on our team tonight, and half of us did 4 tires, and then I think Joe, he did two tires and all the fuel. So we were going to be really close. I could have had 2. I mean, we were obviously shutting it down and you know, letting it coast and all that stuff. So we were gonna be just fine, I think.
Absolutely, man. Well, a great run and a great drive nonetheless as you were able to get it done, not having to worry about those additional overtimes here this afternoon. Only that one attempt, and you were able to keep that 32 right out in front off that restart and down around the racetrack for the final 2 laps here this afternoon. And you pull yourself up into victory lane, Nick. Who would you like to thank for such a great run and strong performance out there on the racetrack?
Yeah, I appreciate that. You know, first all, you know, thanks for my team, Westside Motorsports. You know, I think our leader Luke Wilkie, he had a little bit of computer trouble today, but he helped us a little bit on the tower, a little bit with some spotting and some strategy calls. So appreciate him. Obviously Joe and Mike on our team as well, and we can't leave here without we thank the one, the only, the beautiful, my smoking hot wife, Jesse Biddy. Thank you, baby. I'm sure she's out there watching. Appreciate you supporting us doing this. And also check out Nick Biddy Designs on Instagram. We're doing 3D printed and custom designed sim racing parts. So check us out on there. Check out my other buddy, Caleb Sis Speed Shop. He's got a real nice little training program going, and I've been using him for a couple of months now, and it seems to help. So that's it for me, bud.
Absolutely. Well, that training definitely helped out here tonight as he pulled that 32 right up and into the Atlanta Motor Speedway victory lane. Nick, congratulations on the win here tonight, man. Hopefully more trips throughout this season up here into the broadcast booth and into victory lane here in the Wheel to Wheel Racing League. And congratulations again on picking up the first ever points race wheel to wheel victory here this afternoon, man. And we can't wait to see you back out there on the racetrack next Sunday.
I appreciate it, Aaron. Thank you. Hopefully talk again soon.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, give it up there for Nick Biddy as Biddy gets it done and pulls that number 32 up and into victory lane as we'll get ready to pull in our second place finisher. The driver that had the run down the back straightaway and potentially the move to pick up the win here, but got the big block from the 32 ride. It's Michael Durham Jr. Durham comes home in position number 2 here in that 0-0 ride. We're going to pull him up into the broadcast booth. Hey, Michael, it's Aaron up here in the Peacemaker Broadcasting booth. To get a copy?
Yes, sir.
Michael, man, a great run, a strong performance for you here this afternoon as that 0-0 ride. Trying to stay clean and green out there all evening long and making the right moves, the right calls late in this race. And down that back straightaway on the final lap, having the run, having the look to try to steal this win away from Nick Biddy. He throws that big block. You don't make the move to try to get around him, unfortunately. And, just trying to keep yourself and him pointed in the right direction, not wanting to cause more chaos there down through corner number 3 and 4 and on the back straight away, and unfortunately I had to settle in for position number 2 after losing all that momentum getting into the back end of that number 32 machine. Take us back through this race and what's going through your mind right now as you sit down pit side.
Well, I appreciate my teammate Trent. He pushed me, and earlier in the race they told us we couldn't go below the line, and I was going to go to, but I didn't want to get penalized. But yeah, it was fun and very nerve-wracking because I was like, oh, man, we're going to wreck. And I didn't want to wreck Biddy, because I didn't want to just go out there and clean him for the win. But I'll take second. It was pretty fun.
Absolutely. That's the key thing, man. Having fun, enjoying your time on the simulator, and it's always that much better when you're able to come home still with a solid finish here, earn some good points, and especially when, it's the first race of the series and first race of the season here. So, being able to come home in a solid second place finish, not tore up and parked down pit side like some of the other drivers out there on the racetrack is always a blessing out there on the Speedway, man. Who would you like to thank, though, for such a great run and strong performance out there on the Speedway as you come home in position number 2?
I got to thank my teammates, Ponder Jr. and Logan Perriman, and Trenton Johns. And Trent, we was talking, we was like, man, we got to go for it. And I appreciate him for getting me to second, and he tried his best, even though he fell a few spots. But yeah, I appreciate my teammate, MTL Motorsports. And I guess we'll be ready for Las Vegas next week.
Absolutely, brother. Well, we look forward to seeing you back out there on the racetrack. Hopefully, right back up here in the broadcast booth, maybe one spot better and into victory lane yourself in that beautiful 0-0 Crown Royal machine. Brother, enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and congratulations again on that second place finish.
All righty, thank you.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, give it up for the 0-0 of Michael Durham Jr. as he comes home in position number 2 here this afternoon. He saw the run and a solid drive there for him and rounds out our top 2 here this afternoon as we'll get ready to pull in our third place finisher, Ryan Haller. Haller coming home in third here. Let's get him up into the broadcast booth after a heck of a run and a heck of a performance here in that 23 machine here today. Hey, Ryan, it's Aaron up here in the Peacemaker Broadcasting booth. Did you get a copy?
Hey, how's it going?
Not too bad, brother. Man, Haller, What a run and what a drive for you here this afternoon, man. It kind of got better and better throughout this weekend for you. Obviously, we saw last night running into problems, having to leave that race early. Then here this afternoon, running into some early problems in the ORL League, but then still being able to roll out there on the racetrack, rebound and drive home to a solid top 15 run. And now here tonight, man, seemed like that 23 ride was just hooked up, found a lot of speed out there on the speedway, and multiple times being in the right place at the right time as you were able to come home third in that first stage, able to get a stage point in stage number 2, and then bringing it home in P3 here this afternoon to round out our podium, man. Take us back through this race and what's going through your mind right now as you're able to come home in the top 3 here this afternoon.
Well, man, I just want to say that first off, thank you for the guys for having me, and thank you for everybody in the league, and especially you for doing the broadcast. I'm excited as all heck. A third place feels like a win. Especially for how long I've been racing with this guys. This is actually just an amazing feeling right now. I want to thank my teammate Wyatt Mickelson. He's been helping me out so much, helping me get better, especially at the trickier tracks. And then when I can come here to a track like this, I can just go all out and just let my car do its thing. It's crazy. One thing I want to bring up in the beginning of the race was before the first stage, my only incident I had the whole race, I got hit some damage on the door under yellow, and I somehow was able to not use my quick repair the whole race and was able to keep this thing fast and straight the whole race. And I know there were some incidents out there, but I want to say sorry to anyone, but I want to just say thank you to Wyatt mostly, and you and everybody else. That was an amazing race, especially the finish.
Absolutely, a very amazing race and a very great drive here for yourself as you're able to park that 23 ride up here into the podium here, a third place finish, and I do believe the first time jumping up here into the broadcast booth after being a part of the Peacemaker family for quite a while and seeing you out there on the racetrack so many times, having good runs and not getting the finishes that you deserve. And here tonight, you're finally able to pull off a solid drive and finish this race off and not have really any issues out there on the speedway all evening.
Yeah, just really excited. This ended my weekend just so perfectly. I just can't believe that I'm actually up here talking to you for the first time since I've been watching you and following you and racing with you guys, for the last, I don't know what, year and a half. So especially I just real quick want to thank all the people that came out to this new league. I know it's the first night, first inaugural race, I believe, for the league, and we had 20 something cars, 5+ cars, almost 30 cars on the track. So, I mean, that's a really good turnout for the first race. So just thank you for everybody for showing up.
Absolutely, a great field of cars, a lot of great action out there all evening long, and you're able to cap it off here in our inaugural race, our first race of this series with a top 3 run. Ryan, congratulations with the great performance, the great race out there, man, and hopefully, maybe a turn of the tables here, maybe start to build up some momentum for yourself and your teammate Wyatt Mickelson, and see you guys up here in the broadcast booth more and more in the future.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, next gen car. I love it. So definitely hope to see you here a lot more.
Absolutely, brother. Well, we can't wait to see you back out there on the racetrack next weekend and hopefully reenacting what you did here tonight and picking up a couple more podiums over next Saturday and Sunday.
Thanks, man. See you later. Have a good night, everybody.
You too. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, give it up there for our third place finisher, Ryan Holler. Is Holler coming home in position number 3 here this afternoon. Now, normally, he goes by Ryan, on the Holler here, and tonight, not on the Holler, man. He was able to keep that car clean, keep it out of trouble, not having to park it back there behind pit wall early in this race, as that's kind of our inside joke there with that number 23 machine, as we talk about, obviously, his last name being a Holler, so he's Holler on the Holler a lot of times here in just getting tore up, having the car just at the wrong place at the wrong time, but tonight, right place, right time, was able to cap it off with a solid top 3 run, a lot of stage points as well going into his back pocket, and off to a hot start here in the wheel Wheel to Wheel Racing League. As ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we can't thank you guys enough for tuning in and showing the love here all evening long. Everyone coming in with the likes, the comments, the shares. I appreciate each and every single one of you. Any of the new followers over on Facebook or Twitch, or any of the new subscribers over there on YouTube, we can't welcome you enough to the Peacemaker family. And it's not too late if you're still watching, if you're just tuning in and you haven't hit that like button yet or hit that follow and subscribe button, make sure you do it right now and turn those bell notifications on. That way you never miss it when we go live here on Peacemaker Gaming. But thank y'all for watching. Thank y'all for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys back here in the next one. Peace and love, baby. Peace and love, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday afternoon. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And, man, what a run for our first race here with the Wheel to Wheel Racing League, man. That was a heck of a run, heck of a race, and a heck of a show. Congratulations to all these drivers, all these performers, and all these admin crew that make this possible here this afternoon. But thank you all for watching. All the fans in the stands, can't do it without you guys. Peace out for now.
Turbocharged hawk, piston pumping like a beast. Black top jungle feast on chaos, grab the grease. 180 miles of asphalt ain't forgiven. In this chaos driven life, only the fearless living. Checkered flag visions, adrenaline addiction. Metal chorus blare, ain't no friction fiction. Drafting on the homies, camaraderie's the trigger. Slides on the track, bombs ready, yeah we bigger. Brother dreams chasing speed and money. Engines roaring loud, blazing through the night. Lap after lap, with fire in our veins. Run till we drop, or burst into flames. Fueling up the spirit, nitro in the soul. Cranking up the madness, losing all control. Curves like serpents, straightaways divine. Track burning hot, toasting every line. Hit stop hustle, seconds ticking like grenades. Oil stained glory, history never fades. Helmet and visor, it's a warrior's enchantment. Every turn a gamble, every lap a commitment. Crowds roar, amplifies high-octane behavior. Victory tastes sharp, savoring the flavor. Wind in the helmet, destiny's a blur. Burning rubber dreams, all senses concur. Burn brother dreams, chasing speed and might. Engines roar loud, blazing through the night. Lap after lap, the fire in our veins. Run till we drop, or burst into flames. Pulling up the spirit, nitro in the soul. Cranking up the madness, losing all control. Curves like serpents, straightaways divine. Track burning hot, toasting every line. Running the dreams, chasing speed and light. Engines roaring loud, blazing through the night. Lap after lap, the fire in our veins. Run till we drop, or burst into flames. Fueling up the spirit, nitro in the soul. Cranking up the madness, losing all control. Curves like serpents, straightaways divine. Track burning hot, toasting every line.